I decided to let her win while they were forcing me to give my statement.
Oh.
Because in that moment, everyone was waiting for me to break down completely, including him, standing right there, watching silently as if I meant nothing anymore. My name is Emily Carter, and they all said I had finally lost my mind. They said I was jealous, unstable, and that I had violently attacked an innocent woman. They said this was my true nature finally exposed after years of pretending to be composed. And he stood beside them, calm, controlled, like a man burdened for far too long. They believed him instantly because he looked reasonable, steady, and far more convincing than me. While I stood there disheveled, emotional, looking exactly like the story they wanted to believe. But what none of them knew was that slap was my first choice in 3 years. Before that moment, I had never fought, never argued, never even tried to take anything back. In the first year, she had just joined the company and appeared every morning. She knocked on our door early, smiling gently, calling his name like she belonged there already. "Lucas, time for your run," she would say, as if routines had quietly shifted overnight. He stopped eating the breakfast I made, leaving the table before the food cooled. I stood there watching the steam fade, pretending it didn't mean anything yet. He avoided my eyes while putting on his shoes, like guilt was already there. "You should eat," he said quietly, not even looking at me while speaking. I nodded and said nothing, because silence felt safer than asking the wrong question. The second scene was at work, inside a meeting room filled with familiar faces. I sat in the corner, invisible, while she sat beside him, handing him documents. The way he looked at her was soft, attentive, like she was the only voice worth hearing. When people asked for opinions, they turned to her instead of me, without hesitation. She answered gently, confidently, and everyone nodded as if she already belonged there. And I realized I had become an outsider inside my own life without noticing. The third moment came during a gathering with friends who thought they knew everything. Someone joked, "Lucas seems happier lately," and everyone laughed like it was harmless. "New energy changes everything," another added, and no one corrected that assumption. She lowered her head and smiled, never denying anything that was being implied. And he said nothing at all, letting silence confirm everything they wanted to believe. That was when I understood I had become the unnecessary presence in every room. That night, I asked him for the first time, quietly but directly, "Do you want to explain this?" I said, hoping for anything real from him. He paused, then simply replied, "You're overthinking things," without meeting my eyes. That was the moment I stopped asking and started documenting everything carefully. Not arguments, not emotions, just patterns, timelines, and the choices he kept making. When he ignored me, when he chose her, when he chose silence instead of truth. I wrote everything down, one detail at a time, trying to confirm something simple. Whether he would ever choose me again, or if I had already been replaced. In the second year, she stopped hiding and crossed every line without hesitation. She messaged me directly. Love doesn't care who came first. You should step aside. I didn't respond. I simply saved it into a folder labeled Confirmation 2. By the third year, I had stopped expecting anything and only observed quietly. Until the day I went to her apartment and knocked on her door without hesitation. She opened it, smiled, and said, "You finally came," like she had been waiting. That was when I acted, without pause, without doubt, exactly as I had planned. She screamed, neighbors called the police, and everything unfolded exactly as expected. At the station, under cameras and statements, every label was placed onto me. Outside, she dropped to her knees, crying, trembling, playing the perfect victim. He rushed to her side, pulling her into his arms, protecting her instantly. "You're the one who got hurt," he said, choosing her without any hesitation. I handed him my phone, the message still there, undeniable and perfectly clear. He glanced at it briefly, then frowned, dismissing everything with one sentence. "Did you really have to take it this far?" he asked, as if I caused everything. That was when I finally understood the truth I had been avoiding all along. It wasn't that he didn't see it, he simply chose not to acknowledge it. The rooftop was the last test, the final confirmation I needed before leaving. She sat on the edge, threatening to jump, while chaos built below us. He dragged me down, forcing me to the ground, demanding I admit fault. "Say you lied. Say you made it all up," he kept repeating without stopping. I was burning with fever, vision fading, while people below filmed everything. No one came to help. No one questioned anything. They just watched. In that moment, I didn't break. I simply accepted what was already obvious. He would never choose me again, and that answer was more than enough. After that, everything I did was for myself, not for us anymore. I handled the shares, accounts, contracts, and debts with quiet precision. I left risks behind for him and secured every possible exit for myself. They thought I was spiraling out of control, but I was simply stepping away. On the day of the shareholders' meeting, he stood on stage and spoke. "She is unstable. She attacked an employee," he said, and people applauded him. I didn't attend, because by then, that life no longer belonged to me. 3 months later, the company's cash flow began to collapse rapidly. 6 months later, debts surfaced, and everything started falling apart. Within a year, he was selling assets, trying to keep everything from breaking. And she left him without explanation, just as cleanly as she had entered. Eventually, he came back, calling, emailing, even standing outside my door. Emily, we need to talk, he said, as if anything was still left between us. But I never opened the door, because I had closed it years ago. He said he regretted everything, said he didn't understand back then, said he was misled, said he didn't see the truth until it was gone. I read every message, but I didn't respond to a single one. Because people don't suddenly see the truth. They just admit it too late. The day he died, I was signing a contract in a quiet office. Someone told me he jumped from a building and ended everything himself. Paused for a second, checked the time, then continued signing calmly. My hand didn't shake. I didn't cry. Everything felt exactly as it should. Later, someone asked me when I stopped loving him completely. I thought about it carefully before answering honestly for the first time. It wasn't that I stopped loving him, I said, choosing my words slowly. I just saw the truth before everyone else was ready to see it. They all thought I was the one who got abandoned in the end. But that was never the truth of what really happened to me. I was simply the one who chose to leave before anyone understood.